Ola.
Ola. Yeah.
That's good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good to meet you. I mean, we probably have met
Yeah,
before.
I know. It's nice to meet you too.
I'm glad Nick set this up. Thank you for setting it up, Nick. This is
It's
great.
a good time. So hello everybody and welcome to the Ponytails podcast with myself and Andres. We've got our exciting guest Victoria Olas here, 7 summer book chick from the land of Arizona, living in Tennessee, which we all are a little bit familiar with, right?
Yeah.
We're excited to have you here, Victoria. Vic, I've known you for a long time, and it's a pleasure getting people like just out of my past and being like, hey, I want to talk to you in front of some people. So thanks for joining us today. We're just gonna hop right into it. So we've been asking people, tons of different questions about their Southwestern experience. However you want to like get into this, you just take creative liberties, but Southwestern is a meaningful experience to all of us. What we found interesting is kind of hearing where people either start or end their experience, right? So how'd you take your choice here? How did you get recruited to Southwestern and why did you join a cult? Strong word language, but I'm also curious how either you left Southwestern and then where it led your life now. So go ahead and start your own adventure.
Yeah. So, well, like everybody, I filled out not everybody, but I filled out a survey in class, right? Like most people did. I got recruited by Adriana Anaya. I thought she was super cool and kind of weird at the same time, which is exactly Adriana. And I wanted to do something challenging and I wanted to do something that's going to help me grow. And so that's why I started my first summer.
Sorry, it goes live sometimes, and then my phone or somebody's phone opens it up, and then my phone lets me know that it's sorry to interrupt.
That it's starting. I was like, I hate myself. That's not fun. And my first summer was in Missouri. I hated Missouri. Every other summer was way better than Missouri.
What part of Missouri? Where in Missouri?
Oh, the worst part ever. I'm just kidding. I don't know. Like people probably like Missouri. But there's this really tiny part. It's Missouri for a reason. I forgot even where I was in Missouri, but it's just on the very, very southwest part of Missouri that bordered Arkansas. If you go down a road, you get lost. You might end up in Arkansas while you're selling books. I had a much better ending of that was how it began. It was not ideal, I guess, but my ending was super, super great. My last summer was my best summer because I was increasing every year, not by a whole lot, but like I was increasing and hit growth a couple times. Then I decreased and like shit the bed my 6th summer.
Oh, we'll get into
that. And I almost
later.
quit after my 6th summer. And then the grace of God, not Ross, swindled me into it again. But then I did my 7th summer and I kicked ass. Was really, really proud of myself. I actually sold books in Arizona, which was where I was from, in the northern part where my sister lived actually. And it was amazing. I could not have asked for a better ending to my Southwestern career. And then I felt like, after you graduate high school, you kind of feel like you're like dying to get out kind of thing. I wasn't dying to get out of Southwestern necessarily, but I feel like I had graduated. And I feel like if I went for an 8th summer, it would have been like a victory lap or like a super senior. So I felt it was time to depart because I was growing. That's where I wanted to end my growth there.
So you did it the right way.
I think so.
You're the first person that we've had on that, and including us two, that that's 7 people who have agreed that they stayed 1 summer too many.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. You almost ran that risk though.
Yeah, almost. Well, no, but I honestly, I decided after my 6th summer, I was like, okay, I hated my 6th summer, not hated it, but it wasn't great. And I didn't want to end on a bad note. And so I decided to come back and kick ass. But I knew even before I started my 7th summer that it was going to be my last summer. Unless I hit ASL, which I was 6,000 units from ASL. So I decided not to, then I didn't go back because I didn't hit it.
Right. And where did you go to school again? Sorry.
Arizona State.
Oh, okay. So you Cool. And then you ended up in Missouri. Well, your favorite state to sell then was your home state, which is kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah, that was it's so weird because all the other states have like counties and people live in the country, but in Arizona, people don't live in the country. It's literally small town desert where no one lives, and then small town. So, which actually was really, really great for helping me be mentally on schedule. So it was awesome. I loved it.
That's very cool. So may I ask about your sixth summer? Can we go into that?
Yeah. So I was in Georgia/Florida. I lived in Florida. And then I would travel across the border to Georgia. It was great
right there
for the first couple weeks. What'd you say?
That's some like Florida State country right there, isn't it?
Yeah. I had no idea that Florida was the South. You know, I mean, obviously it's South, but it's, you know, Orlando and Jacksonville is totally different than like the country parts, right? Yes. So they're actually, oh my gosh, if you've never been there though, and you're in the country and it's like super humid, there are these flies that are this big that are called yellow flies, and they actually bite you, and they're actually yellow. Like think of a bee but a fly, and then it bites you. And they're terrible.
That's awful.
Yeah, I know. Not fun. But honestly, like I actually did kind of like Florida and Georgia. I just had my little group, my org that I was with, and we didn't really get to see a whole lot of other orgs, and I didn't really get a whole lot of time to reset myself. And usually how I reset, I didn't ever realize this until that summer, is that I would go see my friends on Sundays, you know, and I was having to help the first years like fully reset themselves. I never really gave myself some time.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was all preventable. Like I just was where I was at in my growth at that time, but that's why it was not as fun.
Did you only stay, like we talked about Missouri and how that's miserable or whatever, but were you just like only miserable that sixth summer in Florida / Georgia? Or did you like, how did you handle the stress of not having that reset that you just described?
I didn't handle it well, obviously. I was doing pretty good, right? Like the first my first week wasn't very great, but that doesn't really mean anything. And then I was slowly increasing. But what always happens to me is that I'm a chronic comparison person. I compared myself to everybody else. And it wasn't really comparing myself to the people who were right next to me. It was really comparing myself to, you know, other people who were in other states, who were my friends, who were doing better than I was. And this was a huge growth part for me. It was really hard. And I really didn't get 100% over that. Like I kind of did my last summer, so I stopped paying attention to the pace setter. But it was, it was all mentally conflicted. It was nothing to do with Georgia, nothing to do with Florida. Like I talk shit about it, but it really has nothing to do with that. Like it's about me not getting over comparing myself to other people.
Right. Huh.
Now let's get into that sixth summer one last time. Maybe.
Okay.
That's
okay. We can dig all into it all you want to.
I'm gonna dig.
Here's what we got in our Facebook Live feed. We got a question from Dylan Barr.
Dylan Barr, what's up?
Yeah, shout out Dylan, baby. Get on the podcast sometime.
What was your best off-schedule day? And I'm gonna interpret that either it's like best day where you were off schedule and you still sold a lot of books, or best day where you're off schedule and you had the most fun.
Start shaking her hands.
Yeah, because I thought of something right away.
Yes.
Best off schedule day. Basically, every delivery past like my fifth summer, I think, like fifth, sixth, and seventh summer, I was definitely off schedule during deliveries. But in a way that was like therapeutic for me. Like I did really good in deliveries because of this, because of being like off schedule. So me and Heather Fisk, we were in Wisconsin, my fifth summer and her fourth summer, and Wisconsin was my fifth summer. So it was one of my favorite summers. It was like my peak, and then I dropped, and then it was my peak again, right? So we went to, I actually have two stories. So
that's
we
fine.
went to, so anyways, we lived with Sarah Mercer's parents, who were amazing. We was on this really cute, like dairy farm in Wisconsin, next to tons and tons of Amish. So it's not like that exciting, but we had so much fun. We just went kayaking down the river, and we spent like 4 hours kayaking, and we were super duper sore. Yeah. And it was so much fun. And I love the fact that we were off schedule with some of Mercer's parents and we're just kayaking, and it was just a blast.
Milked a cow.
That is like the tamer part. What did you say?
You milk a cow that summer in Wisconsin? I remember talking.
No.
Okay.
I didn't actually.
You wanted to.
I should have. Now that I was around lots and lots of cows, but I never did.
Hold on. So what happened? So then what happened?
Okay, that's that.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
The better story, though. Yes. The better story was when it was 4th of July. I lived in Spencer, Wisconsin, and there is this little pub that's called Balls Deep with a Z at the end.
Yes.
So Balls Deep. Okay. So in Spencer, Wisconsin, everybody bought books for me. Like, I was famous in this little town. I loved it so much. So after 4th of July, me and Heather, we get in a lot of trouble together. Me and Heather, like, texting each other, like, maybe like 8:30 or something. We're like, hey, you want to go to a bar? Like, where are we going to go to a bar? You want to go do something? Like, sure.
Balls deep.
We go home, and we're like kind of getting ready. It's like, oh, we live with, so it was us 2 and 3 of the girls, and one was a first year, second year, third year, which was Vicky Varberg. And I think Vicky Varberg was on schedule. I don't think she was there, but there was a first year and somebody else and another second year. And my little first year, we said, hey, come home really quick, as fast as you can. We're going to go to Balls Deep. So I took us to, not I, but me and Heather took us to the bar called Balls Deep. And all of my customers, I literally saw like 3 or 4 customers in that bar. And then I had this really tall ass dude come up to me, and he's like, hey, and he put his hand on my shoulder, like, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm so sorry. And I was like, about what? And he's like, I was super rude to you. I told you to fuck off. Like, I honestly, I don't remember the dude. I was like, it's okay, it's fine. Like, I want to make it up to you. So, because he was friends with one of my customers, right? And one of my customers, we were talking to them, and I was actually going to try to ignore my customers, but they saw me first. One of my customers was so drunk, it was really funny. So, anyways, I was like, yeah, my buddy, like, I forgot his name, like Brandon, whatever his name was, bought books from you, and then I felt bad. So, you know what? I'm going to buy you guys some shots. So he bought us some shots. I'm dead serious. Oh God! And we didn't really get drunk or anything, but What'd you say?
I would have just said no. Buy some books instead.
Buy some books, but
yeah, more money towards you.
It's
so that was a fun off schedule day, and it was awesome.
Hell yeah. Okay, hold on. Yeah. I gotta share a story because you made me think of it, and I haven't shared any of my stories or I don't know, maybe a couple of my stories here. So but I have to. Okay, so context in this story, because, and you'll see where I thought of this, is there's a bar in Grand Island, Nebraska. If you know about my brother or myself, we're from Grand Island, Nebraska.
Yeah.
The island.
The island. And so there's a bar there called Balls. BLZ. Okay. Now, the funny thing about this bar is their slogan is "Who needs Hooters when you got balls?" And they put it, yeah. And they put it in the back of their shirt. So it says Balls and then Grand Island, Nebraska up here. And then in the back, it says the slogan. Now, the reason this is a story and the context is important is because it was my 3rd summer. And this is the summer I was pretty off schedule. So I'll tell you an off schedule story for another time. But I was bumfuck a town called Honesdale, Pennsylvania, up northeastern Pennsylvania. That's where those magazines comes from.
I can see where this is going. Keep talking.
And I'm in the middle of the road of nowhere. I mean, no service on my phone, even if I wanted to be off schedule. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking go work. So I drive up to this. House, and I knock on this door, like noon on a Wednesday. Lady opens the door, and it says Balls, Grand Island, Nebraska. And I was like, where did you get? I didn't even approach. I just saw the shirt, and I was like, where did you get that shirt? She's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, oh, sorry, my name is Andres. I'm from Nebraska. Where did you get that shirt? And she's like, from Grand Island. And I was like, oh my God, why? She goes, well, my husband and I, we have motorcycles, we got Harleys, and we always do a cross-country trip we go from here in Pennsylvania all the way down to California and back. And every time on the way down, we stop in Grand Island on the way there and on the way back because they have the best wings I've ever had in my life. And I'm like, fuck yeah, they do. He's like, you're not from Nebraska. I'm like, yeah, look at my car and my plates say Nebraska. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, I'll prove it to you. The back of that shirt says, who needs Hooters? And she finished. She's like, when you got balls.
That's so cool, man.
And then she bought.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. It was awesome. Sorry. So you can see where I had that.
That's awesome.
Because of balls, baby. That's a good story. Oh man.
That's awesome.
Hilarious. So that was your best, but your sixth summer, you had to have been more off schedule than your fifth.
No, that's the unfortunate thing. Like I was actually on schedule. Like, okay, and
that happened my fourth summer.
I was so, and this is kind of what happened. I was trying so hard that I was like staying in sit downs for too long because I wanted them to buy so bad. So, you know, I thought if I just stay a little bit longer, like all the other top sales people do, that they would buy, and they didn't. So, no, I was on schedule.
Wow. Yeah.
mentally, it was not good for me. So.
Misery.
Yeah, my fourth summer was the same. My fourth summer, I swore, because I helped my brother and he was the org leader, and I was like, I swear to you, I'm gonna be on schedule physically, and mentally, I was shit in the bed. So I get it. That's my third summer. I was like, oh yeah, I was way off schedule. For sure. Yeah, that's crazy. So that's your best off schedule. Okay, so what about then when you moved on? What are you doing now? So your last summer was 2019. So what? First of all, what are you doing now? Plug that if you want, and then tell us like how Southwestern helped you do what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I am a recruiter. I'm an engineering and IT recruiter for Department of Energy jobs. So think of like mechanical and electrical engineers, like project managers, designers, and also IT people. So software developers, front-end developers, back-end developers, full stack, everything. But that for Department of Energy jobs. So like Oak Ridge National Lab, Los Alamos National Lab, where Dan Moore is from.
Yep.
So that's what I do.
They got a lab here in Golden.
Do they? What is it called?
Something.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just asking. I'm curious.
No, that was funny. The awkwardness was funny. The awkwardness of that was funny. That's what we're here for.
I think there is one in Colorado, but well, anyway, so how it helped me now is on the phone. So I'm on the phone, and then I'm also searching for people via like LinkedIn and Indeed and ZipRecruiter, etc. It basically just helped me be confident on the phone and catch on to conversations quickly, and knowing how to sell to people like concisely and try to be, I don't know, it just helped me with the sales part of it. I don't really do a whole lot of actual selling, but just selling the idea of a job to somebody.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm recruiting some people too. So what's up, recruiter? Mm-hmm.
So, and then what about like stuff that you picked up from Southwestern that you were like, oh, I didn't expect it. Like, did you guys ever have any of that? For example, one of the things I learned that I did not expect to get was I still probably won't be good at it or I'll do my best, but how to like good parenting tips or like how to be a good parent. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I didn't expect to learn that, but I was like, oh, that's a cool dad. I'm gonna be like that guy or whatever. Did you pick anything like that up?
Oh, absolutely. I think that selling books really gives you a really good idea of what people are actually like, and you know, parenting, the good and bad of parenting, and helps you appreciate your own parent, and also like, you know, get a better idea of what you don't want to do and what you do want to do. I don't think a lot of people talk about this enough, but I really got way better at using a map, which doesn't sound that important. But like I think that's super important. Like, if you give me a physical map, I will figure out how to get from here to across the country, and I don't need like a GPS. I think that's terribly important that people don't talk about. Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I picked up.
You realize that they're selling on their tablets now, like full on mapping and everything. So they don't need to go to the gas station, pick up the map to then draw it on their legal pad, you know? Yeah. We got the real Southwestern before the tablets.
Yeah, we got the real legit skills.
Oh, yeah.
The real world skills. I don't know. I think that's random stuff like that.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
I'm thinking about this stuff too.
The little, well, and like even like driving in the highway, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, did you know that I picked this up from somebody in Southwestern, but like if you're going on a road and the exit sign is on the right side of the green sign, or that's the side the exit's gonna be on. I didn't know that until a book kid taught me that. And I was like, oh, that makes more sense. And nobody knows that.
Right. Or how to change a tire. Like I didn't know how to do that before my first summer. I've had to do that 7 times. Most girls don't know how to do it and they get stuck in the middle of nowhere. Or just like how to ask directions and how to like actually receive directions. Because if you notice, like most people are like, go to Billy Bob Billy's house and then make a right and then go to the tree, make a left. And you're like, I have no idea. And then you learn to ask questions in a way that you can actually get good information from them. There's all kinds of stuff. Oh, how to ask for food and how to ask for how to use the restroom.
I'm like, hey, I got $1. Can I have some water?
Or just be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry. I just drank a lot of water. Can I use your restroom? Like, or it's like, I left my lunch at home. Do you have a healthy snack? And you can just get anything. Like, I don't know.
That's
pretty much anything.
What like that encapsulates just asking for any kind of help, right? There's so many people that I've had to just like look cockeyed, like, why are you so uncomfortable asking for someone to help you with something you can't help yourself with, right?
Yeah.
We've got someone saying that they got good at driving with their knees. That's definitely.
Oh yeah, my legs are really short, so I'm 5 foot, and no matter how small my car is, I cannot reach. I can't reach it. Like it's too uncomfortable. Like it doesn't. But I got good at driving with my elbows. Like I'm looking at my iPad driving with my elbows.
That's funny. That's funny. That's awesome.
One thing I got really good at is like very quickly backing out of a spot and like zooming fast to go somewhere else.
Backing out of a long driveway. Ooh.
Yeah. Kelsey Kilpatrick is the best reverse driver I've ever met in my life. She is amazing.
Let's have a contest. Let's have like a whole-on tournament. Like of all the weird skills that Southwestern people develop, let's have just like a tournament of all the most random, like, all right, who's the best at backing out of driveways? Who's the best at,
Well, and onto a little bit what you said, it's I think a little even deeper than just asking for food or asking for a bathroom. It's just the ability to genuinely like ask for what you want. I mean, I'll be at a restaurant and we need to pull up a table when they've already told someone that they can't. And it's just all of a sudden, like the way you ask it from just like the number of times you've asked people for where kids live, you're just so much more comfortable. You're just so much more comfortable like asking for that kind of stuff because you're like, can we move this? Like it's no big deal. I kind of shared this in another podcast, but see if you agree with this. I had a buddy who we were meeting at a conference for whatever company I'm in now, and he got a flat tire. Some old man who owns a garage in this house in the middle of nowhere, like helped him out with it, like a typical book story on a Tuesday. And to him, he was like the way he prefaced the story was like, dude, the craziest thing happened. Like, oh my God. Yeah. So he told me the story and I'm like, and then what? Like I'm waiting. And to him, that was just like bananas. Have you found that like that people's stories are kind of, I mean, and it doesn't, not to sound cocky, but you're just like, dude, that's boring. Like,
that's lame. Yeah, I love to tell when I remember the stories, I love to tell my stories to my coworkers because it's just like that crazy book thing. Yeah, dude, you would never guess with this story. It's so much fun. Yeah, I think a lot of people are super lame and a lot of people are just, I don't know. They think the world is so scary and dangerous, and I think the media is terrible about making it way worse. It's like, yeah, it can be scary and dangerous, but like if you actually live it and you go out and do stuff, you go out and sell books door to door, and you meet 20,000 people, in 7 summers, like you kind of get a really good understanding and idea of like intuition and what to say, what not to say, where to go, where not to go, and most people are good.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I know.
It's a fun way to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question for you.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite Get Back or Sizzler story? Like
Andres is on a roll. Let's go. I like these questions.
I went on the roof one time.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, okay, and I wish I had this crazy story. I'm really not that crazy of a person. I have a better story actually that I'm going to tell you with Heather Fisk again. Because like Heather and I live together, so this is totally still a book story. Heather and I live together in San Diego. We are two people who know literally not a single other person besides like the first, like the 18-year-olds that we recruited. And we're in this like big city. So one time we went to a speakeasy type bar, and Heather's like hitting on somebody. She's single at the time. She's hitting on somebody trying to get a drink. And I'm all awkward, like, because I didn't really do that as much. And I was like, I'm really awkward. This couple comes, like acknowledges me. And they start talking to me, and they ended up being flight attendants from Arizona. We're in San Diego. We made friends with these flight attendants, and these flight attendants decided to bring us back to their hotel. And Heather looks at me because I'm supposed to be the person of reason, and I'm drunk enough at this point that she looks over. She's just like, "Do you want to go?" Like that look, like, "Should we do it?" Like, and I'm like, "Yes."
Oh man, how much?
And this is like 2 or 3 in the morning, and so we go to these people, and they're like 30 something, and Heather and I are like 21 and 22, and I'm like, "Heather, I think they want to have a foursome with us," and she's just like, "No, they don't want to have a foursome." I was like, "No, I think that they do." She's twerking on the bed and showing her kids, like, I don't know what to do. Anyway, so like nothing ever really happened. No, we didn't. I was like, no, but anyways. Long story short, the couple ended up leaving, and we actually got to stay in their hotel room, so that was cool. Like,
wait.
They're just like,
but I feel like there's an awkward moment there, right? When you like acknowledge it, like we're missing that part. Like what you went from like, some chick twerking, and then you went, so what the hell is this? Or like, how long was it after they were like, yeah, we're gonna leave?
So we went to this. I can't believe I'm telling this story. It's so funny. We went to their hotel room. And but because like it's an after party, we didn't really know how old these people were. We're just like, let's go have fun. And we went to their hotel room, and Heather actually brought the guy that was buying her drink. She brought him, she's like, protect us just in case.
Oh, okay. So there was like 5 of y'all.
Then there was 5 of us. That guy left because he felt awkward. But they were like, they had drinks, the little airplane bottles, because of course they're flight attendants, so they can't bring big ones. So they had these little airplane bottles. We're kind of like drinking, but not really that much, because we're trying to like not get raped at this point. They were never going to rape us. I'm just being dramatic. Yeah. But anyway, she randomly starts twerking on the bed. She's like, I take these twerking classes. Do you want to see? And I was like, this is weird. Oh, this is really weird. I don't know what to do. And just like, yeah, I got a boob job. You guys want to see?
Oh my God.
I was like,
I have similar stories to this, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh my God. And then she starts telling us then she starts talking about life, or about like marriage advice. Oh, and then all of a sudden, that's when we knew that it was not going to turn into the foursome. And then all of a sudden it was 4 a.m. on the dot, and they left, just like, okay, cool, it's time to leave. And then they just left. And I think that they just knew that the foursome was just never going to happen.
Just not gonna go. So, yeah. Otherwise you would have been like, yeah. Wow.
No, I would have been like, no, I'm sorry. I don't do that. I'm sorry.
So let me just remind you that this started with you saying, I'm not that crazy. Nothing really crazy ever happens to me. So I can't imagine what a crazy story.
Well, I didn't do the foursome, so it's not crazy.
No, but that's still a crazy story.
I know. Yeah, it was a fun story.
It's like somewhere in Delta, there's 2 people that are like, what? Because that works sometimes. It's a numbers game.
I know. They did. They were from Southwest, and
somehow it ties back up into something from Southwest. Oh man!
I couldn't believe it. I was like, but
it all ties back. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That was just like when you were full-time recruiting with Heather out there in San Diego. Just kind of a random.
That's how it. Because that would have never happened otherwise.
Hold on. So that wasn't even a get back story. That was just like crazy.
No, that was just like, we were recruiting and we went out to town, but that's how it's a book story, kind of, because we were selling. Yeah. We were recruiting.
It was while you were at Southwestern. That doesn't matter. It's okay. That was a good story.
That's all that matters.
So one question that Dylan had that I found pretty interesting, like all of us have sold in, if not an actual city, right? It's just kind of a crapshoot, the country that we all go habit. Like there's some weird towns out there, right? So what Dylan's asking is like, what's one town that you never want to go back to because it was just.
Oh, I don't remember the name of this town because I think I blocked it out in my mind. Like it is somewhere in Burnett County, I think, in Texas, and it begins with a B. It's like Bedias or something, but I don't remember the actual name of it. So when I got there, a week before, someone was murdered for a drug crime. Like I don't know what he was doing. He was like a drug dealer, and then he got murdered by the people who were like he was getting drugs from or something. I don't know exactly what happened. So in this town, I had a lot of customers that were 0 downs. I had like one little tiny neighborhood that had like 9 0 downs. Needless to say, none of them came through besides like one of them. And it was like this sketchiest place that like, it wasn't really sketchy. I mean, it was sketchy looking for sure, but it wasn't like people were on meth necessarily. It's like like half of the houses were abandoned. And then you knew that those places had people who did meth there, but they didn't actually live there. Like they were living there, but it looked abandoned. And you just didn't know if they were there or not, you know? It was really weird. So, yeah. So, yeah. I didn't know that he got murdered the week before until I got there. And I was like, well, I can't leave, I guess. Like I'm supposed to be on schedule. And so,
did you ever feel like in danger on the book field, or were you pretty?
Never, literally, never. The only time I ever.
Tell me.
Huh?
That's what so many book girls say, because like that's when the women's meeting happens in sales school, they're just like, don't be stupid, don't put yourself in compromising situations. So not once.
Yeah, so the only situation that I felt like weird about, and then they told us not to do this, and so I did it anyways, but whatever. It was my first summer. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I wanted to continue to knock. It was like my first or second week. So I wanted to knock until 9:30, and I saw this house that had a light on at the, like it was like kind of like a street light, but it was in the middle of the country, so it was not really a street light. But it wasn't like it looked like it didn't look like it had lights from the inside, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is perfect. They're probably asleep. So I'm going to go knock on their door. So it counted as knocking late. Anyways, needless to say, that a guy opened the door and he's like this old grungy man who looks like maybe 40 or 50. And he's like, I approached him kind of nervous, kind of weird. He's like, oh, come in. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect him to answer or say to come in. So I went in, and then I stood there for a second. I felt really awkward. I didn't see any kids. I don't know what he even said. And I was like, yeah, I think it's time for me to go. Goodbye. And then I left, and that was it.
Oh, that's scary.
And I never did that again because I was like, that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's good.
Ever had like a gun pulled on you there in Texas or anything like that?
Well, okay. So I have another story.
Yeah. Every book kid has one of those.
Yeah. So I was in Missouri. It was my first couple weeks in Missouri. I didn't know any etiquette, and I'm not super intuitive sometimes with people. Like I wasn't at the time. I am way better now. Anyways, so I'm out in the middle of the country road, and there is like a little, the road goes, it looks like this. So here, and then there's a house that goes off this way. So I went to the house this way. Knock on the door. Doesn't seem like anybody's there. There's a car there, but nobody answers. Knock on another door, like the side door. Nobody answers that. So I was like, okay, cool. So I'm just gonna leave and come back later. So I drove out the door, their driveway. As I'm coming out, they're coming to turn in, and I was 18 and really like not very smart at the time. So I was like, oh, okay, they just need to go out. So I'm just gonna go past them and not even like get out and wave and say hi. What I'm doing, I'm just gonna drive off. I don't know what I was thinking. So anyways, as I try to drive forward, they drive forward, and I'm like, okay, I'm in trouble. So then I got out of the car, and then he gets out, and he's like, I've got a gun, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, because I say blah, 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 because I can't remember what he said. I just heard gun, and I freaked out, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm stealing books. I don't know. I went to sell books and you weren't there, and then blah, 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 whatever. And then he's like, okay, well, you better go away right now. And so I left, and I was terrified, and I never told anybody about it. And then a week later, I come knock on like a completely different part of the country, knock on someone's door, and they're like, oh, you know what? We're not really interested, but you know what? We're having this family dinner this like family reunion. You can 100% come, whatever. It's like, okay, cool. So anyways, come back at 1 to 3. So I like drove around just to make sure I didn't miss the exact time I was supposed to be there. Like they tell you not to. So I come there because I thought I was going to definitely get a sit down. So I went in, and then I went in and like got invited in to their family reunion. I got a bunch of food. I was really excited about it. And then this old man comes up to me, and he's just like, hey, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Do you remember who I am? And I was like, no. He's like, I'm the one who threatened you with the gun. I'm so sorry. We just had a daughter-in-law try to steal stuff from us and whatever. And then, needless to say, like I didn't get a sit down, but I did meet an alumni there. One of their family members was an alumni. He sold books for a summer. Yeah, it was really random.
Yeah.
No books sold, but I got free food.
Have you
another person who apologized for yelling obscenities to you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Have you?
Yeah.
Have you? Isn't it fun when you meet other alumni that at like a random place that you're just like, what the hell?
I've met one alumni in a random place my entire life, and it was
really?
Oh, really?
She quit week 3, so she's not an alumni.
That's it. Have you met?
She didn't have a great experience. I've met somebody on the way home from Sizzler, actually. Like somehow, some way. Well, it's probably obvious if you're a book person. He's a book person. He's like, did you guys sell books? I was like, yes. I still have his card in my wallet. Like that was years and years and years ago. But I was supposed to like ask him for an alumni letter, and I got nervous and never did. And then I like delayed it, and then I still have his thing. His name is Tim. But
you can still ask him. I'm sure he'll write it in
I still can ask him. I don't care if it's about his alumni letter. I would just want to be like, hey, dude, like let's be connections. Well, let's network.
Damn.
Oh yeah. That network though, 300,000 alumni, a third of them are still alive, right? So there's like a bunch of random weird people that like get weird like triggers when they come across kid signs in someone's yard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys still see kid signs?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All the time.
Isn't it weird? You're
like, I mean, it's way less reactionary than it was when I first left the business, because I was like, God, I can't turn it off, right?
Right.
So
how do you?
It gets less.
What's the most common thing that you get when you explain to your like non-book friends what Southwestern was? Like that first time that you have made a friend, maybe a coworker, and then you tell them about the fact that you sold books, and they're like, "You did what?" And then you try to explain it. What's the funniest reaction you've gotten?
People, especially girls, they try to like not judge you. They'll try to like pretend that they're not. They're like, wow, I couldn't do it. But in their mind, they're like, oh, what a weirdo. Like, that's typically what it is. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the reaction that I get from girls. Like, oh, wow, I could never do something like that. Because but dudes are kind of like, can't believe you did that. Like, kind of badass.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Our good friend Andrew Benson got a giant promotion for his experience. This is actually, do you mind if I tell this story? It's a kind of cool story. Basically, he's an engineer, and he went to school at Lincoln, applied for this job in Austin, like last minute, like just someone on a whim was like, hey, you should apply for this job. It's engineering. And he didn't want to go into like more summers. He just was like I only did 3. I'm good with it. He did pretty good. Hit Sizzler, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So he's in Austin and he's interviewing, and it's supposed to be this 3-day interview process. And like all this shit. The first interview is only supposed to be like 30 minutes, maybe 15. And he was in there for like an hour and 45 minutes. Because at the very end of the interview, he was like, is there anything on my resume that like stood out to you that you want more explanations about? And one of the guys is like, actually, what is this Southwestern thing? And he goes, well, and he just like tries to like do it as quickly as possible because he knows it's towards the answer. He's like, I just sold door to door for like 80 hours a week for this company, in New England. He was like, they just started just drilling him with questions. Turns out that they were hiring like an engineer for this team of engineers that are designing this project or whatever. But then they also had a sales position to oversee the manager of the team. which then after the team was done, then the manager and then the salesperson who was kind of involved would then pitch the idea, and as well as like kind of directing.
Are you saying that he got a better job than what he interviewed for?
They were going to pay to be on the team was like 50 grand, which is kind of low for an engineer. Civil, yeah, and mechanical engineering. And but the next job was like 85 grand that he's then taken several raises for, and then got promoted because of his sales skills. And he tells the story. He's like, it's the craziest thing I've ever experienced, where someone was just so insanely impressed by something that I didn't think was that big of a deal. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
And they got done with that interview, and then they were like, hey, we're considering you for this position. We might call you for more interviews. You're still going to do a couple more interviews for that. He's like, okay, cool. So he was flying back. He flew back from Austin, landed in Lincoln, and to get a voicemail from the company saying that they just were like, screw it, we're not going to do more interviews. Well, if you want the job,
we like you. You got it.
Just because he sold books. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's kind of like the coolest story I've heard of of other people being impressed by what you do.
That is really cool.
Yeah, door to door is the craziest.
Yeah, it's an arena of just grueling craziness, right? We're not crazy, but we experience the craziness of people in general, and like going through the ups and downs of the rejection. It's like having an entire sales career scrunched into 3 months, and then we go back and do it again, teach other people how to do their sales career, and it's like crazy.
Yeah.
How would you like entertain yourself when you get bored, like on the book field? Like how would you stay engaged and have fun?
Yeah. Well, speaking of asking for things, I would try to collect these random like tiny things. And you know how like people play bigger or better?
Yes.
Well, I don't know. Mine were small things that I would ask for. Like I really try to get sweet tea. Sweet tea was my favorite thing on the book field. I try to get as much sweet tea as possible. In places like North Carolina and Texas, that was great and easy. And then places like, I don't know, like Wisconsin, they had Mountain Dew, and you could have Mountain Dew, and you wouldn't have sweet tea. So I would ask for things, and then I felt really weird by asking for things, so I stopped that. My favorite thing, like the thing that kept me most entertained, was being super present with somebody and basically making like a best friend with one of the moms. That was how I really stayed engaged and stayed on top of my stuff and felt really myself. That was the most entertaining part about it. I like conversating with people.
What a wonderful, genuine answer. Thank you. I was like the kind of guy who'd like tell jokes all the time. And one of my old roommates, Jordan Greenberg, shout out to that dude. He like taught me how to just go bonkers, like have fun and mess around with people, but like never be rude about it. Just kind of like toe the line a little bit. I wish I could think of more specific examples. So I'm putting myself on the spot here, trying to answer my own question I asked you, and I can't. So.
I have a question. So, because it's been good to getting to know you. I didn't know you at all.
Yeah.
So this is great.
Yeah.
So when you first started, was there? There were some details I kind of missed that I don't know. To me, they're important, or not important, but like just curious. What part of the semester or whatever were you in when you got recruited? Were you like one of the earlier ones, like back in the fall, or you were like towards the end, or?
I was in February, I believe. I was the first person that my account manager had recruited, or my student leader had recruited that has different careers, But first person she recruited that semester.
Okay, and then did you ever have doubt? Were you ever like going to go cold? Anything like that? Like, did you ever have that, or were you just like sold the whole time?
Literally, not even once. And I watched people leave, and I was like, "You guys are stupid," and then I just. The course.
Really?
Yeah, I never got I got fired, but that's
that's another story. Yeah. No, I didn't actually go cold until my 6th summer. That's the only time. Like I kind of went cold my 3rd summer because I was studying abroad, but I still full booked.
Really?
All on my own. Like no one told me to do it. I just decided to go do it. So.
Wow. And then even like at the end of a summer, you were like, oh, this might be my last one, or you were just like,
no, not until my 6th summer.
Wow.
I know. Yeah.
That's super crazy.
I mean, like I did 3rd, but that was because I was studying abroad. I was completely away from everybody else.
Yeah. Changes stuff. And then when of all the next question, sorry, I'm just filling in blanks here. Okay, the next question is how many Sizzlers did you go to? All 7 Sizzlers or?
No, I didn't go to my first one.
Oh, you didn't make Sizzler your first summer?
I had a shitty summer. Like, it was a shitty attitude, so it was a shitty summer because of my attitude. So there you go.
What was your favorite place to go to Sizzler?
I really liked Dominican Republic, but it rained the whole time we were there. But I thought that was the coolest place because I was tired of thinking Mexico. I was tired of Mexico in general.
That was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My first Sizzler was probably my favorite. It was in Cabo.
Really?
And it was.
Oh, cool. What? I didn't even know when it was in Cabo.
Well, yeah. Cabo was, because the resort had a nightclub in it that never closed. It was like maybe at 6 a.m. but like by 3 it was kind of like people were there dancing, not a lot, but like at night it was cool because you'd like party there, go out to the other clubs, and then come back to keep partying.
Partying.
Oh, it was fucking insane. Yeah, my first Sizzler was my favorite. What was your favorite Sizzler of all the? You said Dominican Republic place, but was that your favorite like overall?
No, I don't think so. I think my favorite Sizzler was probably my 5th or 6th summer Sizzler.
Cool.
That was PB?
So. Huh?
Puerto Vallarta?
I don't really remember. I just remember
about those Sizzlers. I'm not gonna lie.
What'd you say?
Those were after, that was 2017 and 18.
Yeah.
I've heard legendary stories about those Sizzlers.
Well, so after my 5th summer, my first year was I had 2 first years on Sizzler with me. And so my first Sizzler, I won the twerking contest.
And you won the twerking contest?
Yes, I did. And then
you should have taught that lady who's trying to tell you about those twerking lessons.
Right. I was like, oh, girl. No, I was kidding. But then my 5th Sizzler, or technically my 4th summer, but after my 5th summer, my first year, Miss Cameron, she won the twerking contest. So I was like, the legend.
Coachability is on point. The coachability. Nick, remind me to gain so we can gain viewership. And just for the sake of it, just for science, we got to add a twerking contest at some point during the cast.
We'll
ask everybody.
We got a twerking contest between us two, right?
Yeah, of course. But we also got to ask Brandon, Shane, Phil, and Jeff to send us their submissions. Every guest is gonna have to do a twerking contest. Mm-hmm. We don't have to start with you, Victoria. It's okay.
Yeah.
No. You can be like the instructor.
Those are past in my days.
Those are yeah. Oh, actually, so it's interesting because you would have been at that my second Sizzler, which was in PV. Your first Sizzler would have been.
Her first
Sizzler was in Cancun.
Dang it! Yeah, no.
2014.
The Sizzler that you missed, the first one. We had. I'm going to tell this story now, Nick, because screw it.
I missed this.
It's gross.
So go right ahead.
It's gross. There. We kind of talked about it with Brandon, I think, but we were at the zoo bar and there was cages
with live animals. Yeah, you were talking about that one.
No, live animals or live humans?
Humans, and they.
You said it was live animals.
No, some of the girls got up there from our group with some other rando chicks that were there just clubbing, and damn it! All right. It started getting crazy. It was like a wet t-shirt contest. And so like, we were just like, okay, whatever. And some of our groups showed some breasts, but they started getting crazier. And so our book girls came down and they're like, we're not doing that shit. And these 2 gals were in there and they were battling. And person who I know in our group literally goes up to the last 2 because they're trying to outdo each other in craziness to win this whatever contest for whatever reason, and one of our guys goes, "Eat her ass!" like straight up loud up to her, and I regret to tell you that they listened and they followed course, and it was disgusting.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyways,
that's so crazy.
All right. So hold on, time out. I need to go get a drink really quick.
That's you. You take your time out. We need the show must go on.
The show must go on after he gets back. I have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, well then no. You go ahead. We'll go.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll be right back.
All right. So Andres, we have a blank screen in front of us. This is going well, right?
Yeah, I think so. This is good.
Yeah.
We got some people listening. Hello, everybody out there. If you're listening, let us know any questions you would like us to ask Vicky or Victoria. Sorry.
Yeah.
Good thing she wasn't here. My bad. Sorry. You called her Vicky. That's how you introduced her
I
to
never
me
called her
when
Vicky.
Yeah, you said I got Vicky Olas on the phone, and I was like, oh, dang, okay. Anyway,
No,
the point
I
is,
never call her Vicky. So
the point is, we should if you have a question, make sure you comment, and then we can ask, and then enjoy some of these answers. This is going pretty well. I like these stories. She's got good stories. These are
either got 3 viewers because that's what Facebook says, or it's counting both of us as a viewer because we're both logged in and watching it, right? So I think either I'm not counted as a viewer and you are, because you've got it pulled up, right, Andre?
Yeah, I got it pulled up just in case I can read the comments.
Yeah. No, we just lost a viewer. No,
so it's just us two. That's okay. If there's someone listening to this afterwards and it's just
us two, we're uploading this. It's permanent. This is forever.
Well, now there's only one. It's just me now.
Damn.
You're not even watching? You're not watching your own podcast?
It doesn't count me. It doesn't look like.
You know what's really funny is I think she muted herself, but she's probably listening to what we're saying because she had headphones in and they were wireless. So she's probably listening. She's probably laughing about this right now.
I did not. Yeah. I took off my headphones when I came back.
Dang it. I was hoping
I wish I would have listened.
Well, it's so funny. We had a good time. I accidentally called you Vicky, so I'm sorry, Victoria.
Oh yeah, well, good thing I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's all fine and dandy. All right. Well, do you have any? Do you want to hear any questions? Because you said you had some questions for us. This is the first time someone said, "Hey, I want to ask you guys."
Interview us.
Interview you guys?
Well, at the beginning, before we went live, you were like, "Oh, well, tell me about you guys. I have so many questions." And I was like,
"Oh, yeah, I want to know. Yes, I want to know why you guys started the podcast. What made you guys decide to do this? What this whole and your guys' story and your guys' life right now, what you guys are doing, and yeah." I don't know if you guys have already said this in the past story, but that's
take it away, Andres, because you're the reason why we're here.
Okay, so I'll tell you why we started the podcast, and then Nick can tell his story about how I got into Southwestern, and then I can tell you about how I got into Southwestern, so it's not just me talking for forever because I don't like that. Well, started as mainly because of COVID, I would say. Ever since I've been working from home and stuff, so I couldn't play soccer. Everybody's kind of locked in, and I just don't want to. I'm taking it a little bit more serious probably than most people, but that's okay. I don't mind. And so then I was like, I need something to do. And so I started writing a book, and then I was like, I need something else to do. And so then, I continued writing my book. I'd actually been writing it for a while, but actually started digging in. And then I was like, there's gonna be something. And I was like writing. I was like, what would be fun is just to have conversations with people that sold books as a podcast. It'd be so cool. And the original idea was to have a Joe, which is what we're doing now, a Joe Rogan-esque feel where it's you just kind of talk about whatever and however it goes. And then, people tune in and ask questions or just kind of listen. And in my mind, I've actually had a lot of experiences where I've met alumni randomly or through a connection to someone else that every time I do, it's just such a fun story. It's always this cool, engaged conversation where or when you're meeting up with old book people that you know from before, and then you're with other friends that aren't that story of you're having a beer at this bar, and then these people, and everyone's always entertained, and everyone wants to hear about this crazy experience from another perspective, and so I was like, it would be so freaking fun. I honestly think people would listen, and I think alumni will listen. And I think it's a good idea, an opportunity to get alumni to share what they're doing now. So it's a win-win for everybody because they kind of get to plug in what they're doing, and then we kind of get to talk. And if it's some dark stuff about Southwestern, which there is, and we can talk about, I'll ask you about that at the end of this whole thing, or at the end of this part. And just really because most people love, and then most people that are going to listen to this probably love Southwestern, right? But we all know that it has its imperfections, and it's okay. And so we care about it, and talking about that is always fun. Or just some cool pony stories.
It allows for some healing.
I honestly think it makes for good content. There's just amazing stories that need to be told. And so I just thought it'd be cool to share. And so then I figured maybe and finally, like for the people that are still in Southwestern, it would be a good idea so they could, like say you have a kid who's an engineer and we have an alumni who's an engineer and they're doing like what you're doing, for example. And it's like, well, if you want to hear how it is important for you to just go listen to this podcast, and that's like your second day interview assignment, and there's an alumni that spoke to my brother and a friend who sold books, and they tell it all.
Don't sell books.
Good and bad.
Andres is a terrible
and
person.
So I thought that'd be valuable for people who are recruiting.
Sell books. I'm kidding.
I thought that'd be valuable for people who are recruiting. I thought that'd be valuable and just to share. To be honest with you, you're the fifth person we've done this with, and it's been so fun every time. So it's meeting and eventually, if it goes big and people start sharing this, and then that's fantastic. That's cool, and that's cool to maybe like an alumni can like sponsor us with so we can plug their stuff and just maybe get a set up a mic. But for now it's just this, and it's fun. It's just a good way to spend some time talking to someone. So that was kind of the goal. But thank you. That's a good question. Thanks.
And I was just hanging out on a Friday, and Andres calls me, and I'm like, dude, long time no talk. Are you in Colorado again? He's like, no, we're doing a podcast. And I'm like, yes.
And you're a part of it.
Yeah, I wanted Nick because Nick's fun, energetic. He has good questions, and he has he has good perspective and a lot to say. And I like that. That's what you need for a podcast. So that's good.
Absolutely.
So cool. Nick, the question then was, how did you get into Southwestern? Answer, please. Tell us your story about how you got to drink some Kool-Aid.
All right. So back when I was a wee lad, just turning 19, I was sitting on the floor of my dorm, just on the shag carpet rug that I had. It was just like a cute green thing. I'm just like laying there. The semester is about to start. Like, gosh, I don't want to start school again, but whatever. And so I get a text from a friend that I knew through student government, Hannah Reesberg. She's like, hey, did I tell you about that internship I did last summer? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And so she's like texting me to get me. She didn't call me and do the normal commit thing. She just texted me and was like, come hang out at the on-campus coffee shop. And so I'm like, fine, all right, yeah. I mean, if we're talking about work, I need work, I'm like January, thinking about the summer already, and she's already thinking about it for me. I'm like already saying yes, this is what I want because I trust Hannah. And so I show up, and it's her and this other beautiful corporate recruiter, Stephanie Smith, who's since been married. But I'm just sitting down with these two beautiful ladies and this other guy, Shane. That I don't say this very often because I don't hate people. It's hard for me to hate somebody. I hate this guy. I knew him throughout the school year, and I'm just like, Shane, this guy is just like, he's saying all the right words in like a sleazy, snaky oil salesman kind of way. And I was just like, I need to do this and earn a spot on this team and push this guy out, right? So like, all right,
we're selective.
Do you think you can do it? Do you think you want to do this? Right? I'm like, yes, let's go. And then I he's like, yes, I think I can do it. No, I don't want to do it. I'm like, fuck you. So he gets dismissed, and I'm just like chatting with Hannah and Stephanie. I'm like feeling like the most important person in the world because these two pretty ladies are like wanting to work with me. And I'm like, heck yeah. So I just said yes a bunch of times, and then I sold books. I have no other way of describing it because from that from that text message all the way through to when I got fired, again, a story for another day. But it was like 5 years of just straight conviction. This is what I want to do. This is amazing. This is a springboard to a better life. My dad had Southwest Auto Body as a business that he owned when I was growing up. So I'm like, that direction. So,
it's literally a direction.
Yeah, that's how I got recruited.
Cool. My story. Every story about recruiting is just entertaining as hell because you're just like, how did you get talked into this? In a good way. For me, it was April. The semester was coming to an end. Met this kid who I'd seen around campus a couple of times named Steve Thyden. I went to this where you walk around the candles for cancer,
the Relay for Life.
Relay for Life. And I was going around.
A little louder. You're a little quiet, Andre.
Oh, sorry. I was going around. They had it indoors because it was cold out still, and we're going around the rec I saw him playing soccer, and I'm like, oh, this guy plays soccer. I want to talk to him about that. And so then he invited me to be on an intramural team. We ended up winning, blah, blah, blah. And after games, we'd have like that banter that you talk, oh, you played like shit, ha, 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 ha. And he realized my personality was outgoing. And he was like, hey, man, what are you doing this summer? And I was like, I don't know. I was going to go home and work. He goes, where do you work? I was like, I'm in sales, like at the mall. He's like, oh, okay. Well, do you want to do something else this summer? And I was like, what do you got? And he goes, okay, you got to come meet me and listen to what I do if this is for work. And I was like, okay. And I told him I would go. It was going to be on a Tuesday it was a 3:00 info. And that Tuesday was also the Champions League semifinal between Barcelona and Chelsea. And Barcelona did win. I'm a huge Barcelona fan. And I skipped the info. And I watched the game. And Barcelona lost. And I was devastated. And so I was like, that's an omen. That's an omen. And so then I called him and I was like, hey, man, I'm so sorry I missed it. Which is crazy now that I think about it. First year, like a freaking like commit calling you and apologizing. And so I was like, I'm so sorry I missed it. Can I reschedule and do it and try again? And he's like, yeah, sure. Thursday. So I went to Thursday. And within 25 minutes, I was like, I'm in. It was, they told me that the two things that sucked to me was we were going to go to New York City for a Sunday meeting and that we were going to skydive. And both of those things were like near the top of my bucket list. And I was like, whatever the hell I got to do, I'm going to do this. And so we went through the interview process. And by the time it was all said and done, because of the scheduling, I ended up getting recruited on the Wednesday of finals week. And so, yeah. And so, it was like one of those things where there was no parent call. It wasn't like that at all. And then when I called my dad, I'm like, hey, I just got accepted this program and it's for the whole summer and it's up in New York. So I'm going to go. And he was like, when do you leave? And I'm like, I don't know. Actually, let me call. So I called Steve and I don't know if he remembers or not, but at one point Steve told me that to that day, at least, that he thought I was going to call and quit because I found out that we actually left that Saturday. So it was like in 2 days. And so he's like, I thought you were going to say no. Instead, I was just like, okay, cool. I'll call you back. And so I called my dad. I said, we leave 2 days from now. And he goes, did you already commit to it? I said, yeah, I signed like this agreement that I was going to be there all summer. He goes, and it says you're going to be there all summer. And I go, yeah. And he goes, okay, well, here's the thing. Go. But if I see you back here in July, don't come home because I didn't fucking raise a quitter. So that's my dad, Hot Rod, everyone.
Yeah.
And so he said that to me and I was like, all right. Yeah. And he goes, oh, and if you're going to do it, because I eventually told him more about it, about how like you compete, only like it's selective and only, so many kids go and, 3,000 kids. And Steve, so in my mind, Steve made $17,000 and he had never had any sales experience. So I'm like, I can make at least 10, I can like go and check it out. I mean, if that guy did it with nothing, I'm like, I'm cool, cocky first year. And so, or cocky in general. And then, yes, then my dad told me that and he goes, also kick ass. Like, okay.
Okay.
And I called my mom and I told her and she was like, okay, yeah, if you think you can do it, you can do it. Go just do your best. And
what did your eventual district sales leader brother say when he first found out you were going to be gone all summer?
Oh, he was pissed. Well, he was kind of pissed because he heard from somebody else. So that he was playing he was still in high school. So he was playing in like the state championship final for soccer or something. And I went to see you. And then I had told a friend that I was going to go. She's been a good friend, Emmy, that I was going to go for the summer. And she was like sad because we were going to meet up again in the summer. And then we were like at a restaurant after the game and she told my brother and Danny's like, what? And he was like, you're fucking leaving for the summer? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, why did I find out through her? And I was like, I don't know. It literally happened yesterday. He goes, when do you leave? I'm like, two days from now. So yeah, so that was kind of cool. My parents ended up becoming host parents afterwards. So my family is very Southwestern involved. I think my parents have hosted like 8 summers. My brother is now a DSM or DSL.
Wow.
For people who don't know, or if like this ends up being watched by people who are in Southwestern, that's a big deal. I mean, that's pretty solid to become a DSL in Southwestern. He met his wife. They're gonna have a baby. So that's super exciting. That's the whole thing. They met because of Southwestern. So it was safe to say
went to the Relay for Life.
And all because I went to the Relay for Life and played soccer with Steve. and Barcelona got kicked out. That's, you can start it. It's kind of cool.
So many little things that if they didn't happen the way they did, it's just like.
And now there's a baby coming from it. That's so weird.
I know.
That's so weird. There's a baby gonna be born because Messi missed a penalty kick.
No way.
Yeah.
That's all because of that.
Like the odds of Messi missing a penalty kick is probably the most outrageous thing in all of that. And that happened. That led me to go to books. Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
Yeah. I got to travel, obviously, skydive, all that shit. Made Sizzler, made some good money. It was cool. Yeah, it's good for a summer.
That's awesome.
I flew Danny out to New York, and that's how I recruited him.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I bought him a flight to New York, and he's like, "What did you do this summer?" And I was like, "I sold some books. You want to come?" And he was like, "Yeah, I want to know more." Didn't talk to him again until like that December after GRS. Took him to GRS, flew him out, and he's like, and he watched. So I was number 9 my first year, and so I was in like the thing, and when you're top first year, people care for some reason, and he noticed that, and he was like, I want that. And then after that, he was like in. Never did nothing. I didn't do any interviews or anything with him, nothing. And when I told my parents, and he was just still in high school, so he was going to be a senior, or he was just graduating high school. And I told my parents, I'm like, I'm taking Danny this summer. And they're like, yes.
Hell yeah.
Go, take him. He needs it. And I was like, okay. And so that was that. And then he went out. Now he's a DSL, about to have a baby with the woman that he met so also sold books, who I also trained. So
that's so cool.
Super funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah.
But speaking of love from book love, you are dating a bookman. Is this?
I am dating a bookman.
How'd that happen? Book couples are an interesting thing. Let's hear this story.
Speaking of my 6th summer. Okay, so
we're gonna do this, and then the darkness of Southwestern. I feel like this is
no. So my 6th summer, I was really excited because I was gonna get to be I was already kind of an OL, but I was co-OL my 5th summer. My 6th summer, I was gonna like take the reins and be an OL, and I was super excited about it. And I was recruiting. I was recruiting in San Diego, but I was going to be with a team from actually Knoxville, Tennessee, which is why I'm, long story, here now. Anyways, so I come down. I was co-OLing that summer, my 6th summer, with Joe Ignis, who had a ton of like really good-looking, cool dudes. And great team that was going to kick ass, and they all did kick ass, and they were incredibly off schedule. So one of them was extra attractive, but I didn't really notice him. Honestly, like I was just being an OL, and I was just whatever. And I was like, oh, this guy's like, I sat with him, and I was doing like a PC or something at sales school, and that's the first time I really noticed this person. I was like, wow, he's got a great aura about him. Like he's just. I don't know what about him, but it was just a great aura. I don't even remember that conversation, but I remember where we sat at the company. And then I didn't really pay attention to him for the rest of the summer because Joe was PCing him. Joe was his roommate, was kind of in charge of him. And then all of a sudden, like halfway through the summer, like maybe week 4, something like that, he basically has his back out moment where he finds out that the books were sold on Amazon, and he felt really shitty for selling them for hundreds of dollars when people can get them for way cheaper on Amazon, which is like this like moral thing, which I totally understand. And I got really mad at him because I was like, this was like the very first week that I was supposed to be his I forgot what it's called, his stat call. And I got mad at him, and I didn't know how to handle it. And I was like, I got overwhelmed, and then I got frustrated with him. And then I got mad at him, and I don't know what I said, but I kind of yelled at him a little bit, which you're obviously not supposed to do to a first year, but it was different with him. It was weird. So the next day he followed me, and I had a great day that day. And because I was kind of like showing off to him, and it actually poured rain. And I was like, doesn't matter if it's raining, we're just going to still go knocking on doors and whatever. And I was just like hard, like tough as nails. Yeah. And then after that day, I was like, this guy was kind of cute. Like, I was like, no. Because he was younger than I was, and he still is.
He's caught up now.
Like, he's younger. I'm no, like, he's not. It's not gonna happen. And then I was like, you know how you pump up call people? Well, I would pump up box people. And I would just like send everybody a nice pump up box. Well, eventually he started replying back, because he never replied back, but he started replying back finally. And he started calling me sweetheart. And I was like, whatever, you're so lame. You call me sweetheart. I'm your, oh, well, fuck off. And I was in denial the whole time. I was like, no, like I'm your, oh, well, whatever. And I was like, whatever, he's in love with me, but whatever. And then I finally started to like kind of like him. Well, anyways, at the very end of the summer, he actually studied abroad. So he sold for like 4 or 5 weeks. He studied abroad for 3 weeks in Paris. He came back. The very day he came back, he followed me, and I made sure that happened. Sure. And I had a great ass day. And it was funny because this is so funny. I didn't sell any books for the first like 2 gold periods. And I was kind of struggling. I didn't want him to notice that I was struggling. We met this really cool ass dude who had known a book person. But like I got nervous and I locked up, and then Chris, my boyfriend, was like, not at the time, but he was like, well, why not a cookbook? And so he literally sold a cookbook for me. And then he's like, yeah, come back later today. I have a 16-year-old daughter, which I didn't know at the time. She needs SAT, ACT prep. And so then I had like 5 customers that day. I came back at the end of the day and then sold that guy the ACT, SAT prep. Yeah. And I was like, and it was literally all because he decided to sell that cookbook to that guy. And then I got the credit for it because I wasn't going to let him take it.
Of course. You're not having those 3 units.
After that, I was so in love. I was like, this guy's amazing. Yeah, I know. But anyways, regardless, I love my boyfriend. I'm really excited about talking about him right now. No, he's not.
I was going to say, if
he's not around. I made sure that he wasn't there because I didn't want to be embarrassed.
Oh, nice. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, he chased me, and this is interesting. I'll tell this part of the story too. So I was having a PC with him, and we had not talked about any of this kind of stuff. But at checkout, I went to his checkout, and I told my friends, I was like, don't let me kiss him. Don't let me kiss him. Don't let me get drunk and kiss him. Well, I went and had a PC with him, and I just told him, I was like, I know you like me. And he's like,
Now dating you sounds fun. Keep talking.
After that night, the rest is history. We're pretty much together. We like ended up dating later on, but we've been together for like 2 years or a little more than 2 years.
Congratulations.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. See, you love to hear those stories that are done right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Fantastic. Cool. Then let's talk about, I was going to ask, we were talking about like the aspects of Southwestern where like the things that we love about Southwestern, but then there's like those kind of like things that are like, that wasn't necessarily the best thing. In your opinion, is there anything that if you could like change about Southwestern that you'd go, that'd be a good thing to start changing?
Yeah, the schedule. So speaking of which, I never thought, when people are like, oh, you didn't sell books because like, so back to my 6th summer, I was so freaking amazed by how off schedule people can be and how they can still sell lots of books. And my boyfriend and his best friend were 2 of the people who were like 2 of the top people in TV that year for first years. And they were 100% completely off schedule. Like my boyfriend only had sold like 6 weeks that summer and still was a top first year and was 100% off schedule. Like probably only worked like 4 hours a day. And I was like, what the fuck?
Uncomfortable to know that how people are doing what you're describing. It's just like,
I was like, you're still a top first year. Like he didn't sell a bunch of units, but he sold 1,500 units in 6 weeks being 100% off schedule. I was like, this is so ridiculous. So now after all of this stuff, all of that like realization, I think that the schedule is awful and you should get more sleep and actually sleep. And if you slept and had a good sleep and maybe actually worked out during the summer, and like you would be mentally more clear and have a better summer for people like me specifically. So
I would say for most people in general, for humans.
Interesting. Yeah. Is there like a certain way that you like? For me, would that be like maybe not knock as late? I think like for me, the way I would do that is just like, do not knock in the dark. And I know people swear to it. Like I sold in the dark, so don't get me wrong. I get the importance of that, but unless you have an appointment, and there's plenty of stories where you knock and it's dark outside, but just for safety, for like rest, it's like, dude, if you
for
PR issues, I mean, if it's like still dusk and it's, or just barely got dark, but if it's like, you know, those days that you had where it was like 9:40 and you were in the country and it was like pitch black and
like
long driveway, it's like, dude, just go home. Just go home.
I think people have all those cool stories. Like I had lots of stories where people bought because I was randomly knocked, but like, I don't know. I just think that you probably shouldn't knock super late. And if you, I mean, the stories come from having appointments where people are expecting you, right? Like there's a lot of those stories. A lot of stories where you randomly knock and then somebody does buy. But there's a lot of stories where like they knock and they get pissed.
Yeah.
or like
of a town.
Yeah. It's so yeah. No, I think like not. But to be honest, I love knocking late. Like I still love working late now at my job.
Just change the suggested schedule, right? Say if you want to knock late, here's how you do it, but your minimum hours worked this week should be 70 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, because
84 hours is maybe too much.
Well, and if it's working, right? Like if you're jamming, go on. Like, because there's times where I was like, I'm in the zone. Let's see, like the first week I hit PC. Earlier, yeah, it was like one of those like where I needed that last one that took me over, because otherwise, 42 units
and 100% do that.
and so fucking go do it, right? But there's some people like and this is kind of also applies to some people that shouldn't come back that still do that. It's the same feeling where it's like that person should not be knocking, you know, after dark. You know, there's like I specifically remember
they're weirding people out during the day, and they're extra weird people at night.
There's just so much risk with that. Like so your first summer, we had a kid, I'm not going to say the name. We had a kid in our org, and like, or it just was one of those people that he did well and he meant well and he needed the program for the reasons that you needed to grow. Right. But there's those people that come and they do. I'm not saying that this person shouldn't sell books. I'm glad he was selling because he needed the program to like go through that, you know, adversity.
To grow.
Yeah, to grow as a person. But he was also a person that did not need to be told, dude, if it's 9:28, go knock on one more. No, because the problem is because he was a person that needed to grow and it was like week 2, he was not comfortable yet being able to like, because you have to be confident if you knock late. Like you can't just, like that's how you actually get in trouble. If you're fucking ballsy and you're like, yeah, oh, so sorry, I didn't mean to catch you late. Like you're supposed to be there, but it takes like experience or some certain kind of personality to fucking pull that off. This kid did not have that, and not his fault. That's what he was there for, right? But that caused so much headaches because he got kicked out of that town, and then we got some PR to the surrounding first years because he like matched the description of a college-age white dude from Nebraska, right, in Massachusetts. And so like it got to a point where like it was hurting the org that he was knocking late, you know, and there was never like this option of like, hey, you know, if it's dark and you feel like you're not comfortable knocking at night, just go home. You know, and nobody ever said that. Nobody. I'm like, think about it. You could get home, eat, shower, like be a lot more relaxed. The next day, you're gonna wake up with more confidence. You're
prepare your names and get ready for the next day. Yeah,
like go home but be productive. Don't go home and watch Netflix. Go home and like do whatever you need to do. Catch up on your business. Like fill out your fucking bar.
Yeah, there was like 19.
I know.
Because like remember the bar that when it used to be paper.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, it's like, dude, if you were allowed to just go home and just do your bar, catch up on your green cards, start like do stuff that actually would be productive, but just don't go and if he was off schedule, he was going to watch Netflix anyway. But like that would have been so beneficial to a lot of people who then would have kind of built up that confidence that when you start going, all right, advanced sales should be like how to knock at night. And then until you're ready to get to that point, you're not going to get that advanced sales. So go home before it gets dark. Now, the competitive kids are going to be like, no, fuck that. I'm going to go kick some ass during the day so I can get that advanced sales. The kids that were going to be off schedule or fuck it up anyway weren't going to chase that. I think that should be part of it. And then, so then you get the kids that are like actually learning how to do that would knock late. Like I was doing it sometimes, like when I was confident, then you're jamming. And then that gives what you were talking about, the schedule. It makes it so it's not as like hectic and you're getting more sleep and you're rested. Yeah. I think that's a huge one. Schedule. Good call.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of great things about Southwestern, and like some small things that like are really cultural things. Because even they try to fix this whole knocking too late in my like last couple summers, and like nobody knocked past 9 unless you have appointments, but people still did. Well, the sleep would have been miraculously made it so much different. Yeah. You would have been so much more productive. Another thing that I would say too is people staying in Southwestern for too long for not great reasons. Like having a base of like, what'd you say?
This is the most common thing that people say should change about Southwestern is like, get those people who need to like get out.
Yeah, like you're on your 8th summer and your base is at 9,000 units and you're like 7,000 of those units. Probably not good for you. Like you should probably leave unless you want to stay there and have fun.
Yeah, or you're on your 6th summer and you've not crossed 4,000.
Right.
Right, and it's like that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just means maybe do something else. Unless you, again, like you said, unless you want to come back, that's different. But you shouldn't be talking like a C contract that's not sold over 1,000 units to come back in just so you can have another manager for your org.
I've seen a couple people of those of like people who sold 3 years, never sold over. I've seen some success stories, so don't get me wrong. Like one of my first years was he was in my base, like was one of those success stories, but lots of those people who like were not really great for the org overall, not good for the culture. It's just not what we want people, not what we want first years to see managers to be, you know?
Yeah. And so we had those in the force too. I mean, people I enjoyed being around, but there was definitely like managers, or like when we go to get backs, we'd meet managers from different orgs and I'd be like, this guy's kind of sketchy. Like this dude is creepy. Or or there's no names, but there's like times where I remember going to get backs and there were people like trying to grind up on like drunk chicks at a club or something, or at Sizzler, and it's like, dude, we're gonna grab you and we're gonna grab you, and again, I'm not gonna say names. You'd be like, hey dude, back up, like she's clearly drunk. It's just like, so like, why is that dude here, like, and it was like a kid that sold books and you're like, that guy needs to leave. He should be gone. He should be gone out of from the org or whatever, from the company. So anyway, people stay too long, I feel like, is the problem.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, one thing they do really well is the culture. I don't know that I'll find a company that has like that kind of like, I don't know, common energy vibe, this like kick-assery and
that cult-like energy. That's what cult is short for, is culture, right? They just like get everybody on the same page of this is how you should view your job. This is how you should view, and it's always with excitement and positivity. And this is how you should view yourself, is, just constantly grinding and always working and always positive, right? And it really breaks down any sort of difference from that. Like there's just no room for that negativity, no room for it, as I see it, just authenticity in that, in the ways that we fall short as humans. I mean, they try to make it easy for us to puke and, puke up and stuff like that. I never actually had an effective upward trajectory with my puke. I just had to internalize it all. And it just led to a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, like triggers that, when I'd come across something that it's just like, it spikes the anxiety of like, I need to be on schedule. I need to be working harder.
Yeah.
But it's a great effect, right? As we clearly can point to how Andrew Benson got that job as a manager to engineers, because he just was like, my job, I sell books, And right now, and right now I'm like dissecting the whole philosophies of schedule, of habits, of expectancy, of how to solve problems. I'm like reforming that into how I am recruiting and training people right now. So it's like, I have a job because I recruited and trained people for years. Was I the best? Not even close. But I learned from the best, and I still have access to all the notes that I took and all the documents they shared, right? So
heck yeah,
it's fun. It's really cool to dip back into that culture.
It's also
absolutely.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You're the guest.
I was about to say, like, I dipped into the real world, whatever that even might be, because Southwestern is 100% a real world, just a cultish real world in a way good way. Like, I love the fact that it was a cultish world, and I would never change that. And I think part of the reason why we call it a cultish world is because we want to embrace the negative things that other people who don't understand Southwestern, they say it's like, oh, that's very cultish. It's like, we embrace it and be like, yeah, fuck yeah, it is, because we're amazing and we know we're great and we know that, like, we would love to have you a part of it, but at the same time, like, if you can't see it the way we see it, then that's fine. Like, I mean, I don't know, I love it.
No, it's true.
So hard to find other companies that are going to be like that, who will, like, the leadership is not nearly as good at other places, and their mindset and the growth mindset. It's like Southwestern did it so special on, like, actually helping people grow and developing themselves and conquering the things that they're terrified of and not realizing it, and all the insecurities, and how that can help you be a better person and a better producer by overcoming those things. And I don't know, that's something that Southwestern does amazing at. And I'm super grateful for,
Yeah.
Business playground. We'll learn all the things.
It's just the idea. It's just, what Southwestern does really well is just they do a good job of, and actually I didn't even say this isn't even my words. It's actually the words of the manager that I used to have, or that I have, who I've told all my book stories and stuff to. And he said, what Southwestern does a really fucking good job at is they build each other up so well. Like, they encourage the idea of, like, building their like coworkers up. Like, it sounds like because you talk, and the reason he was saying that is because when you talk of the people that you work with, like your brother or just other people that stories I've heard of from you, it just, the way you, like, build them up, like they're these heroes.
The Dan Moore intro.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because, as he said that, I think of, like, other places. I'm like, yeah, most places I hear, it's like, I mean, and there's drama in Southwestern. There's cliques sometimes.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Of course.
And then of course, since I've been there, it's changed. Since this is not necessarily about as much right now because I can't speak for now. But I'm just talking my experience, and the kind of relative experience I have to my brother. But, like, the way that the people come together and create, like, these bonds, it's maybe it's because of shared trauma, like a PTSD shared trauma type thing, or for whatever reason. But kind of onto your point, Victoria, like, if everybody's gonna drink some kind of Kool-Aid, right? Like, other people, the Kool-Aid that other people are drinking is that if you go to good school, get good grades, get a good job, that you're gonna, like, find your career, pay off your student loans, retire with all this fucking money. And, like, if you look at, like, if you grab a random sample of 165-year-olds, people at retirement, most of them are not ready to retire. So that cult isn't working. The idea of, like, that Kool-Aid of college is good, that's not good juice. So if I want to be drinking some good Kool-Aid, okay, so this Kool-Aid's going to make you appreciate others, appreciate your life, build yourself up, maybe be toxically pressuring towards getting you to work. Maybe not a bad thing even, but maybe it is. And, like, just surround yourself with people who are all driven by whatever aura to move forward and fucking make big things happen in the life. Then that's the kind of sugar we got. So it's like, it's not bad. It's a good Kool-Aid to drink a little bit of. Now, some people put too much sugar in the Kool-Aid, which is okay. It's not a big deal. Others, maybe not so much. But overall, my relationship towards Southwestern is positive. But there are some darknesses to it, and it's okay.
Yeah, and there will always be dark situations and dark. And when we say dark, like, we are humans, and no matter what we're gonna have, no matter what perfect organization is going to be, no matter what perfect religion is that there is, or whatever, doesn't matter what it is, we are humans and we're going to fuck it up in some way. And, like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what, the cliquish things that happen in Southwestern happen literally everywhere you go. And, like, I think Southwestern does the human psychology better than a lot of other places do. And that's what's so special about it. And, like, of course it's going to have problems. Of course, like, there's always going to be pros and cons to literally everything. But I think that there's a combination of Southwestern. What Southwestern does, a lot of things that Southwestern does is really, really, really good.
Another good thing they figured out is how to do the right amount of recognition in the right way. I work with a company that it's like there's too much recognition, where it's just like everybody gets a medal type of thing. So it's like, oh, then now I'm not as special. But in Southwestern, it's like you want to be number one, the top team, recruiter, the top first year. Like, there's so much freaking, like recognition involved in that it does a good job of building the right kind of pressure for people to want to achieve that pedestal. That's a good merit. It's a good merit. But that pressure does get to you though, you know. Like, did you ever, when you were off schedule, how many times did you feel guilty? Was it every time?
I didn't really. I mean, when I say I didn't really get off schedule, like I really didn't really get off schedule unless it was deliveries, which I felt totally fine with. But and then also with Heather, those 2 times, but that was pretty much 2 times.
Oh, really?
And I'm being so serious because I never wanted to disappoint people, so I didn't get off schedule. And I think that for someone like me who's stressed out too much about that kind of stuff, it would have been good for me to be like, I don't know, like today I'm not going to work as late because I'm going to take some therapeutic time for myself to just love on life and love on the stars. You know what I mean? Like there's some times where I really should have just loved on life a little bit more and stopped stressing out so damn much. That's actually what I like about a normal job. There's a lot of things I don't like about a normal job. But one thing I do like about it is like I do get some leisure time, and that leisure time is really good to reset yourself. And so I don't know, but I love the grind. You know, really, the thing is about a balance, but the balance is going to be different for every single person. And I think Southwestern is really unbalanced, but it's meant to be unbalanced and for a season, and then it's really unbalanced in the other direction for another season. I like a little bit better of a balance more often.
Yeah.
I think most people do.
Yeah.
Unless you're Elon Musk.
Right. Jeez,
he doesn't care. He's just like, he's a workhorse. That's fine. It's great. Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. When you were around, I feel like this was maybe a little earlier on, but did you ever feel like like there was like certain cliques in Southwestern, or like, did you ever feel like it was clicky?
100%.
Really?
Yeah, it is. There was, but you can choose to be in those cliques if you wanted to. Like, I was really nervous to be a part of the cool girl group, like the badass girl group.
Wait,
and I won't say who they were, but they were obvious. So there's a badass girl group, like a girl group, and you had to sell a certain amount of books to be in this girl group. But you didn't.
Really?
Like, that's the thing that I really understood is like you didn't have to sell any amount of books. You had to go up to them, introduce yourself, and make friends with them. That's all you had to do. And it took me a second to learn how to do that, but eventually I did it, and I was like I could be a part of this if I wanted to. I could be a part of whatever clique I wanted to be a part of.
If I just barriers in your mind.
Yes, I think a lot of cliques are completely self-created because yes, certain people do like to hang out around each other because they like each other. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to accept you. You have to have the confidence to be like, fuck it, they're cool, but I'm just as cool as them, so I'm going to go introduce myself and say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
And say, hey, love me because I love you, and you love me because I'm awesome, and you're awesome, so we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. We haven't asked this question yet, but were your parents, you were the first in your family to sell books?
Yes.
And when you told your parents about it, were they all on board, or did you ever have any pushback?
My mom was like, "Is it safe?" Yeah. And then she had 10 questions for me to ask my student manager, and I asked them, and then she came back, and then she's a laissez-faire parent, like that's her total parenting style. The only time she was strict on me was when I was with boys. But otherwise I was just a good kid, so she didn't care. My dad was like skeptical, and then he talked to one of his college buddies who had done something similar. I don't think it was the same thing, but then once his friend gave his approval, he said, yes, 100%, go ahead. And then he loved the fact that like I was working so hard for something, and I worked really hard over summer. So and actually what was interesting is eventually they started they started coming to me for advice, or maybe I would just give my advice freely, but they would definitely listen and receive it. And because like when I was coaching first years, I really was helping them. I took what I was learning from coaching first years and taught them how to coach or be a parent to my little sister and my little brother. And I think that really, and you knew, and the thing was, it's like, you know, sometimes like you could tell people advice, but they're not really listening. But I could really tell that they were intently listening and asking questions. So I knew that they were receiving what I was saying, you know?
Awesome.
Yeah, because you learned to pick that up from other parents that you sold to.
Yeah. Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
Cool. Your brother and then your sister, right?
My sister and my brother.
Yeah.
You recruited them.
Mm-hmm. I recruited my sister. My brother, I tried so hard, but he didn't sell books. But it was for a good reason. He was coaching gymnastics, and he really felt like that was his passion. And he's one of those kids who never went to college. He's never going to. He's just like he's totally gay. Maybe he's bi, whatever. I don't know what he is. It doesn't really matter. But he's very flamboyant and like loves on life, and he's just not gonna be, that doesn't do well in the classroom, but is incredibly smart. Like he's such a cool ass dude. Like I love my brother so freaking much. But he's just, I would have loved for him to sell books, but it would not have been an opportunity for him to sell under me. Like if he would have ever sold books, it had to have been his idea, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Which is cool. Sense. That's fine. Maybe he was on the road. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Would you make your kids sell books?
I would never make my kids do anything. I would definitely like just tell them stories and tell them stories and tell them stories and tell them stories, and then because my boyfriend like sold books, but he didn't have the same experience that I had. Like he's not like Southwestern cult leader like I am.
How many summers did Chris sell?
Huh?
How many summers did Chris? Okay, gotcha.
He sold for one summer, then he did a field training. Like he was like a field trainer the second summer, but then he went to military training. So he's in the Army. He signed his thing. He's ROTC, so he had to go to boot camp his second summer. So he did like a 3-week summer. Huh?
Is he off schedule in the Army, or is that? Or do they
not?
No,
he absolutely not.
Yeah, that's not good. You get in trouble. That's cool, man. So your sister, it's cool when you recruit. It's a weird feeling recruiting your sibling, your younger sibling, especially. You're like, sorry, Nick, that you don't understand what that feels like.
I'm glad I don't. My brother is no.
It's weird. It's weird when you recruit because I dropped under weird circumstances. I ended up being the one that had to drop Danny off at his first store, and it was hard. I mean, I cared. I mean, maybe this is different for people who don't have who have different relationships with their brothers or siblings. But like for me, my brother and I are tight. And I dropped him off at his first store, and like in my head, I'm like, I know what's about to happen in this next 12 weeks. And it's gonna be awful, or it's gonna be great, but like also like crazy. And he's 17. Yeah. He was selling to people who were older than him, to kids.
Wow.
Who were yeah. So did you have that feeling at all with your sister?
No, maybe I should have. I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. No, I didn't have that feeling at all, because I just kind of felt like I don't know. It was like this summer when it was her. No. It was my fourth summer when it was her first summer. And like Erin Reynolds was the one who pretty much recruited her, but she was technically still under me. Like I was just there when Erin was doing the info session, and like she was meeting up with me, but like I didn't know what I was doing. And so I felt not as responsible. I was like, I kind of felt like I was doing cheer. Like I did cheer when I was in college, and then when I was in high school, and then she did cheer when she was in high school. I would see her when she was a freshman. I felt the same way. Like I felt no responsibility for her.
Good luck.
Maybe I was a terrible student leader and a terrible sister, but I was like, no, I was fine my first summer. I didn't need a big sister to help me through, so you can be fine your first summer. And so I just kind of was like, she was a top first year.
Hell yeah.
But I was like,
how many summers did she sell?
Just 2.
Just the 2? Okay. I thought you said
2. She met her love of her life.
Yeah.
The GRS between her first and second summer. She was kind of off schedule her second summer because of him. He's awesome. We love him. But I'm just saying, she was off schedule. And she grew. And then she didn't sell books because that was his last summer. That was her last summer. And then they got married.
On a glacier in Alaska. What the hell?
I know. They got eloped. That was so crazy to me. I was like, you're married? You came back married? And then we had the reception afterwards. But I was like, oh, but it was really cool. I don't know. I wouldn't picture my sister doing it any other way. What do you say?
Their marriage is going strong. They're a great couple.
It's going, yeah, way strong, super strong. They're awesome.
I love them. This is great. This is good stuff. Okay, so then as far as the name of the podcast, we have to hear a pony story, or if you have multiple, you're more than welcome to share multiple, because it sounds like you've always given us at least 2 for every question. I feel like you were like, okay. So I don't care how long this goes, or if you have, if you want to share us, we are here. I'm good to go. And
30 minutes later.
Yeah. We don't care. I mean, I'm doing fun for time. I don't know how Nick's doing, but we want to, if you want to tell us multiple stories, we would love to listen and see where these conversations go as far as like pony stories go. But tell us some either pony stories, badass stories. Don't feel like you need to limit it to one, but if you have to, if you want to, that's up to you. That's wonderful. Okay too.
Alrighty, thank you for the permission. So, okay, Wisconsin. Okay. This was a badass story. Okay. So when I was in Wisconsin, I was in Amish country, Amish and Mennonite country. If you probably know what an Amish is. Yeah. Those of you who are watching may not know what a Mennonite is. They're from different parts of Germany, basically, but think of the same thing. They wear like the long dresses, like the bonnets or whatever. But the difference between Amish and Mennonites is Mennonites actually do have cars, but they only drive black cars. So I was in Amish Mennonite country. I was knocking super early because I lived in my turf, and so it was only like 5 minutes away. So I was starting at 7:30 in the morning. I think it was like 7:38. And I went down this really beautiful road in Wisconsin. It was really super green. It was a beautiful day. Like every day was pretty much raining besides this day. This day was perfectly blue in the sky. It was wonderful. I went down a road that hadn't been down before. I was driving down. I made a right down this really long driveway. And I was like, wow, this is so pretty. They've got a pond in front of their driveway. Oh my gosh, this is great. So I was parked in there. I come down this long driveway. They're not there. But I go and knock anyways because I feel weird just in case they might be there. So I knock anyways. They're not there. Then I turn around and then I see this black Suburban drive up the driveway. And it's completely black. And I'm like, oh, okay, so here they are. Hi.
7:30.
You don't want to be weird, like someone's on my front porch. What are they doing? Anyway, so I'm driving. I'm like knocking up and say, hey, this guy, this hat with a beard. And then his kids come out. There's like 7, 8 kids. There's the mini kids because they're a Mennonite, so they've got a million kids. They're all in long dresses and then the bonnets, whatever. But he's in like this like cowboy hat and he's got this button down shirt or whatever. And he's like, hey, how you doing? Are you selling books? And I was like, yes, I'm selling books. It's like, cool. My wife's not here, but you can come inside anyways, and she'll be here shortly. I was like, okay, cool. I come inside. There's this really pretty house. It's like not super huge, but it's like quaint and big enough. It's like bigger than the other ones. And then he's got about 1 million like heads. I forgot what they're called, but the like the deer heads on his wall. Yeah. And those cost like $1,500 each. You know what I mean? So like, if you got 1 million of them, think about how much that adds up. Like that's a lot. He's talking. All of a sudden, he's like, yeah, I'm $1 million Mennonite. I was like, what does that mean? He's like, well, I'm a millionaire and I'm a Mennonite and I own my own business, something to do with horses. He owns his business, like I forgot what he does with horses, but it's a horse business. I was like, cool, that's awesome. And then he starts to kind of slightly brag, but not super brag. And he talks about how he has a plane. I was like, a plane? Yeah, it's like I got a 2-seater plane. It's super awesome. I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful day. You want to go up on a plane? I was like, yes. I literally did just like that. And I don't think that he actually expected me to say yes. And I was like, absolutely, 100%. I want to, 100%. Let's go. It's like, okay, let's go. Okay, cool. And then he texted his wife saying, hey, we're gonna go. By the way, Mennonites are not supposed to have phones, but he had a phone because he was $1 million Mennonite.
Mennonites.
Right? Yeah.
That's right.
So we got into his car, we're driving, and I'm also thinking like, ooh, I'm gonna be off schedule. So this is my off schedule moment, I guess.
There it is. There you are.
I'm gonna be off schedule. So we're driving in his car. We drive like 5 minutes away to this plot of land in this little hangar, and I would never have known because it looks like a little barn thing. But in it is a plane. I was like, oh, wow, this is we get into this plane. He drives it around. He goes up in the air. And then I get to see my entirety of my turf from the sky. And it was so beautiful. Cool. Oh my gosh, I have pictures of it still. And my pictures are so funny because I'm like, probably haven't washed my hair in 7 days. And like no makeup and nasty all over the place. And I'm like, it was great. They were just like flying all over the place. It was just so cool. And oh, it's so fantastic. And it's beautiful. I get to see my turf. And I took a picture of where I was living too, which was super cool. And then finally we got back down. And then we came back. And then his wife came home at the same time that we came back. And then they come to find out they had already bought books a couple years ago. But so they never bought books from me, but I got to put them on my names list. And I was like, David Sensing was awesome. I don't think his name is Sensing, but I knew his name was Sensing, something like that, but it's not David because that's the tax guy. Yeah. It was something Sensing.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was so cool. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Yeah,
great book.
That's
story.
my cool. Yeah, his brother actually bought books from me, so the Sensining family. Yeah, it
worked out.
It was cool.
All right, so
that's my funny story.
Do you have a crazy like they bought a giant package story? Everybody's got at least one of those or something like that all the time. Or like a yes.
I was in Texas. First year was following me. I come to this really like torn down kind of like it was a I'm trying to think. It's like a trailer. It's like a double wide trailer. But this family was in the trailer. They let us in, whatever. They're sitting down. They're like, this isn't actually our trailer. Like our house is being built or something. Our house is burned down. I can't remember the story, but we're staying in our friend's trailer. And this whole time I'm like, these people don't have any money, but they're kind of taking a long time to decide. I just told them the entirety of the package. I was like, yep, this is the entirety of the thing. I had like a 7-year or like a 7th grader and an 8th grader. And they're like, so what's the price of the entire thing? And I'm like, well, I mean, these kids books are like, ABC 1 through 3, like your kids don't need them. So I won't include the price for those. It's like, no. What's the price for the entirety of the thing? And I couldn't remember. I was like, I had to add it up on my calculator because I didn't know.
You weren't ready to drop the bag, but they wanted
$1,500. I don't know. And so like, okay. And they're looking at each other. And then I'm not kidding. Like they kept trying to distract us and trying to say something else and trying to like, basically buy themselves some time. And so we ended up like playing some games with the kids and we ended up doing this with the kids and we ended up like talking some stuff and seeing the car and all of a sudden, and then we come back, go to the bathroom because I go to the bathroom when I'm like, don't want to be there for the decision. So because I'm like, they're taking too long, I'm gonna go to the bathroom so they can come back with a decision. Go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom twice. They still hadn't made a decision. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck here. Anyways, finally, 2 hours later, I couldn't believe I stayed there for 2 hours, but I didn't know how to leave. 2 hours later, they bought the entirety of the thing. Like, I think it was like 70 units or something like that. It was or maybe like, I don't know what the unit package was. It was a lot of units. At the same time, they bought the entire thing. And I was so stressed out after that. I was like, they're the first year following me. You're not supposed to do this. Don't stay there 2 hours. Like, that's not worth it.
Hell yeah.
And they bought the entire thing. And they were in a trailer. And they looked as broke as fuck. I couldn't believe it. It was not like a nice neighborhood at all. And I was like, I can't believe. And they bought in full, too. I was like, because she kept saying, she's like, so, I mean, our financial situation. Like, and I thought that meant that they didn't have any money. But that meant that they had lots of money. So there it went. Right. That was they bought everything.
Yeah. I got a question for you that I don't think I've ever asked any book girl ever in my life.
Okay.
Did you ever meet a hot dad?
Yes. Oh my God. It's funny how like immediately when you said that, I thought of this very hot dad. I don't remember where I was at, but I remember I was in a super nice neighborhood. It's like kind of older people in the neighborhood. And all of a sudden I went to this really beautiful house. I knocked on this door. And this dad came out with his, and I don't find older men attractive. Like I don't, not at all, not even a little bit. This guy answered the door and I'm pretty sure he was like military-esque. He had perfect chiseled abs. He was nice and tan. He had perfect biceps and he was had a beautiful face. I was like, oh. I'm selling books. And he's like, come in.
Oh, God.
I was like, okay. I don't know what I said. And he's like, yeah,
God.
I don't think we're interested. And I was like, okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Oh, man.
I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen someone so beautiful my entire life. Because like when you see someone attractive, even if they're like way too young, they just look like you haven't seen a good looking human in like a long ass time. So
because everyone in your org is just hideous. we're all slowly getting uglier.
Well, I don't think that's true. That's the opposite. It's like they slowly but surely get more attractive. Because everybody gets tan, they lose some weight, they're just way more confident or whatever. But they're
book
not,
goggles?
I don't know. Yeah, book goggles for sure. But that was.
But do you have the same effect? Do the book goggles have the same effect on girls? Actually, I've never talked to a girl about book goggles before.
100%.
Because
absolutely.
Who was it that who made the joke? I think it was Brandon. It was like by like week 13, like there was like a sophomore in high school, and you're like, or whatever he said, and I was like, no way, that's not the craziness.
100%. It's probably not the same like intensity as for girls as it is for dudes, because biologically we're different. However, I do believe, it 100% happens to girls. I remember seeing a really good looking like 15-year-old. I remember having this thought, like, this guy is way too attractive for, like, he looks like, in my mind, he's way too attractive. He's way too young. Like, Victoria, stop being a weirdo.
Oh,
but
man.
You can't help yourself sometimes. You're like, I haven't seen a good looking him in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're.
It's the same for girls.
That's interesting. Country, right? That's so trippy. Yeah, I've ran into my fair share of attractive. I even had like an attractive grandma, like just like. Well, the lady was like 37, and her kid, she was 16 when she had her kid, and then her kid had a kid at 16. And so she was like a grandma to this 1-year-old, and she was only like 37. But and she was super fit. I think she must have been like a fitness instructor or something. She was just super fit. This was right around the time where like first yoga pants were really worn by like young women, and then like they made their way into like the older middle-aged women community, and they were just starting to become that way.
You're a fitness mom and you're hot.
Yeah, so I was like,
"You're a grandma?"
I was like, I was like, "Are you the mom of the house?" She's like, "I suppose so." And then I'm like, "What does that mean?"
She's like, grandmas.
"Yeah." She's like, my daughter lives here, but she has a daughter, so she's more the mom. But I guess, and I'm like, "Wait, you're a grandma?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "No. No way, you're not a grandma." And she's like, "Yeah." And so her daughter came outside, and they ended up buying like some mufus or something, but like because it's just a little baby. But I was just like, "Oh my gosh, it was a very hot grandma." And of course, you're hot moms. So
yeah.
Those book goggles, they hit you.
Yeah. It's way too hard.
Did you ever get in trouble bad with the cops or anything?
Yes. So not like bad. I've heard way worse stories than I have had. But my first summer was in Missouri, and part of the reason why the summer was bad really had nothing to do with our org, but there was the human trafficking stuff going on.
Yeah.
Which was like some Europeans in Oklahoma or something like that
had Nebraska.
Terrible. Yes. So it spread like wildfire literally everywhere, and it was terrible. I had never felt the same way, and no summer had been like that since. It was just this one-off summer. It was really crazy. But anyways, I was so shocked that like I came knocking on this person's door, and this little girl was like, "Oh, the crazy lady." That was a terrible feeling. Regardless, the point about the cop actually, like, he had pulled me over a couple times, and then he was whatever. He was like questioning me like a normal cop would. And then he eventually was like, "Okay, so I see what you're doing." And then he became friends with me. And then he started standing up for me. And then he, like, when everybody would call in, he'd be like, "Whatever, it's just the book girl. Like, I know who that is." But unfortunately, nobody liked the cop in that town.
So you guys were like part of the like unwanted crowd of the town. You guys were the two lepers of this fucking Missouri podunk butt plug.
Yes.
What did you say?
But
Missouri Podunk butt plug. Sounds like this kind of town is what it.
I didn't have service there either, but I have another story.
Hey, go on.
Dude, if you want to do this 4 or 5 times, please do. I love these stories.
We're gonna have you back, okay? We're having recurring guests.
You got some good stories. Hell yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad. I've been thinking about these for a lot. So I've never had this happen before besides one time. So I was driving in this town. I drive way too fast during small towns. You know how you're supposed to, like, you go on the highway, you're going 70 miles an hour, or like probably more like 80 or 90 because you're bookers, you drive fast.
Yeah.
all of a sudden it goes 30, you know? And so I'm going way too fast in this town. I'm trying to slow down, but I didn't slow down fast enough to get wheel. So they're pulling me over. And then this guy comes out, and I noticed who this is. And I was like, I get really nervous because I've gotten a criminal speeding ticket before. So I'm like, I had the worst anxiety. Yes. That's another story. Regardless, I get pulled over and I have the worst heart attack. And I look over and I was like, hey, Tim. And he's like, do I know you? Before he even says, like, get out your ID. I was like, you're Tim. And he's like, yes. And I was like, I heard you had a heart attack. Are you okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm fine. You know, I was out for a little bit, but I'm good now. I was like, yeah, your wife, Karen. I forgot her name, but whatever, Karen. Your wife, Karen, told me about it. And I was there the day that you had gotten, like, that you had the heart attack. She went straight out and I had to leave that day. And she's like, oh, you're the book girl.
Oh,
and he did have my ID at the time. And he slid it back. He's like, he gave me back my ID and he's like, slow down. I'm going to let you go. And I was like, I got it. And then he's like, so my wife, she's going to be home at 11 a.m. She sleeps in, you got to get there at 11 a.m. later today. Okay. So I was like, I was like 30 minutes away. Like I was only on my way to my next territory. I was like, I'm not going to be there today. I was like, okay, well, I'll do my best, but it may not be today. And he's like, okay, well, you better go back to my wife because she wants to buy those books. I was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, anyways, I totally forget about this family because I'm in a totally different territory. I come back to deliver books. And so I'm coming back and I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about this family. I'm in this neighborhood delivering books. I was like, you know what? Let me try to go there because I know to look for this yellow Camaro because that's this old guy's, like Tim was like 20 years older than his wife, Karen. It was ridiculous. I was like, you know what? His vehicle's out there, but you know what? This is the only time I'm going to be there. So I get in and I go in and Karen's like, oh my gosh, come in. We're super excited to have you. I was like, my husband's not here again. This is my third time trying this stupid house. I was like, whatever. I was like, okay, you know what? This is what I have. He like comes walking in. He looks at me. He's just like, and then he realizes it's me. He's like, oh, hi, the book girl. What's your name again? And I was like, yeah, I'm Victoria. We met.
That's awesome.
That is fun.
And then they bought.
Yes, they did. They bought the entire Adventure Library and some other books.
Hell yeah.
They didn't have any money on them though. So the grandpa who was there had gave me cash. So it was super duper awesome. I was like, Tim, you're my buddy. I got all this.
Take care of your heart, Tim.
I love you, Tim.
That's
and I thought
hilarious.
He was an asshole at first, but he was super loud. Yeah. I just totally ignored the fact that he was trying to pull me over. I was like, you're Tim. You had a heart attack. Are you okay?
Just tell him.
It pays to know people.
That was a really good story. Thank you for sharing. That's the serendipity of the book field, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's cool when you like involve yourself in the community so much that you like know the drama and the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Like there was, especially my first summer, I was really jamming on when I was like kicking some butt. Like I just became a part of my community. And we'd be talking to a family and it's something like that where like, I realized that this is the family that some other family had talked to. I was like, wait, are you guys the ones that like last year, like you guys, I don't know, you drove the car into the diner or whatever, some crazy story like that. And they're like, how did you like? It's like, oh yeah, everybody's talking about you guys, or whatever, or like they'd be like a mom and she'd be like talking to her husband about some gossip about, you know, like the husband got home and, oh, by the way, Tim called, he said that, or Jimmy called or whatever, and I'm like, oh yeah, that
I know Jimmy. Yeah. Jimmy.
No, something that's something
you,
Jimmy would say. You're like,
I love when you can like name drop and they're like, I think I know that person, and then you're like trying to 3D the name and talk about like their actual address, and they're like, how do you know where these people live? Well, I sold books to them.
I'm amazing. I know everybody.
There were times where I would be the one dropping the tea to the next mom, right? Like, oh yeah, Nicole was talking about that. They said that Taylor wasn't gonna like blah blah blah, and she's like, they didn't tell me that. I'm like, oh, they're supposed to call you, but I like something like that. They're like, what the hell? And then that happened so much at one point that's actually got a customer that way. It's like a Friday night, and I went around. There's like, it was kind of getting dark, and the house lights were kind of on. The sun was still kind of coming through, but it was getting dark, and I heard people talking out back, so I just went around. And there was like a bonfire going on, and there was like couples, and there was like 5 couples, 3 had bought, 1 didn't buy, and then one of them was the one at the owner of the house that I got told to go to by the other, but they happened to be there. And so I'm walking up and they're like, Andres? And I'm like, oh, hey. And then the owners are like, who the hell is this guy? And so they all explained, the 3 that bought explain and like do this like.
They did your sales talk.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, and they help with math, and like they throw like the important shit. And so, and the parents were like, well, okay, honey, do you want to get the checkbook? And she's like, I fucking suppose. And so she went out the check, and they just bought. It was funny because one of them bought a 1 through 4, one of them bought a 1 through 5, and the other one bought a 1 through 5. And we didn't have CEAs at the time. There was like these other like little disc packs, and so they were giving shit to the one that bought a 1 through 4. And so then they're like, oh, come on, you guys have to get, and so just to outdo them, they're like, give me what they got and then add something else. And so they bought like buckets and so they just to outdo them. So then I ended up like adding on to the orders to like one of them, and then in deliveries, the other 2 were like, they gave me shit, so give me whatever, like, and they
whatever they got.
It was just just because I was involved, and they told them about me. They're like, he's from Nebraska, super funny kid. He's going to college.
He's awesome.
Crazy job. Like, and the parents, they just love you. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's pretty dope.
That's awesome.
Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for the story. That was great.
Of course.
Of course. We have to have you back on again. We should also do maybe a panel. Maybe have multiple guests on. Nick, what do you think?
Well, that's actually what we're going to be doing next week. So here this weekend, I need to iron out the timing. But Sarah Ayub, this is for the audience and anyone else tuning in. We're going to be chatting with a yoga expert from Orlando. She actually is from Massachusetts, where I sold books, and we've got a great connection there. And she's one of my favorite people. I think she sold 3 summers and still has some people that she recruited that's still in the business, and just a real wise soul, someone great to learn from, easy to talk to. Next week on this same day, we've got Sydney Ann Dove and Renee Dodson. So we're getting those 2 in one conversation, and that's going to be a real good time. And they're also some of my favorite people. Sydney Ann's selling houses in Texas, and Renee's like at one point was representing Bumble, the dating app. I don't know what she's up to. I'm super curious. We'll find out.
Renee's dope.
Then we got some other people lined up after that. So we've got plenty of great stuff in the works.
Feel free to keep watching. We're gonna cut up the videos hopefully at some point to get like different chunks of things.
This weekend we'll start uploading to our Ponytails YouTube channel, where we're gonna have this wonderful episode, time stamped, where, hey, this is where Victoria tells this story. So that way it's easy for you to like, Victoria, when you're talking to your friends about, hey, here's this 3-hour podcast. I mean, we've been talking here. They can then go through and see what interesting parts they want to choose for themselves. So
heck yeah.
Wonderful.
Victoria, it was so good to hang out with you. It was awesome.
You as well. You both.
Nick, I think we need to focus more on doing like podcasts with people that we both don't know, like our own individual. So that way it's new to one person. Because this was cool. No offense to the other guys.
Yeah, right. So much offense.
I'm just amazing. So
yeah, fuck y'all.
Those could have been good podcasts, right? Anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Victoria. It was so much fun. Feel free to find me on Facebook, add me, do whatever so we can connect online. That'd be great. And tell your Chris, right?
Yes.
Boyfriend, tell him hello.
Yes.
Sounds
I
like
will.
dude. See you later.
All right.
Okay.
Until next time. Bye.
Yes.